actually present in the debates. A fascinating story that I thought was really funny that brings this out was Ken Livingstone, when he was mayor, went to all three party conferences to do an accountability session, and like fringe meeting. It was packed. This guy put his hand up and said, wanted to know why Ken Livingstone was banning and was against having motorcyclists in cycle lanes. Perfectly reasonable question. I disagree with it. I'm a cyclist. I want cycle lanes to be safe. I want bus lanes to be safe for cyclists. Motorcyclists frighten me in bus lanes. That's my personal view. So you think you're at a democratic forum. Ken, amazingly, said, I will answer your question. But first of all, I want to say, I think it's outrageous that you're using this room and this opportunity to promote your agenda as a paid political lobbyist for the motorcycle industry. And then he answered the question. I remember when I was writing for The Independent, I used to write an environment column for The Independent. And just you think it's all the three parties. It goes further. I was writing about Tetra Pak. You know, Tetra Paks, they're a really disastrous environmental issue. They're just a mixture of plastic and aluminium and cardboard. And I wrote an article about how unsustainable they were. And I got an email a couple of days later from this guy saying, oh, I'm a member of the Green Party locally in Southwark. I know Jenny Jones. Jenny Jones is a very good friend of mine. She's Green Party mayoral candidate. And he tried to use his knowledge about my local connections and to actually say, oh, I just want to invite you to come and see the Tetra Pak processing facility. And he was a political lobbyist for Tetra Pak. Green Party member in Southwark. Lobbying me through his contacts in the political system to try and say how wonderful Tetra Paks were from an environmental point of view. Just gives you a taste of how much it's pervaded our political system. Another way how they do it is not only do they buy the political elite, but because they don't quite want to be seen to have their name with the money on it, but what they'll do is they'll sponsor a paper, a research paper for a think tank, or they'll sponsor a think tank. When I was in Love Democrats, they set up a thing called the Centre for Reform. And they refused to declare who funded them. And that's what you'll find with all the think tanks in all the major parties. It's usually the right wing and corporate interests are funding them. What that means is that they sponsor papers for the political parties setting the political agenda, but without their name on it. So you'll have a paper on nuclear power, or a paper on the oil industry, on the aviation industry, and it will be published to all to a big press conference. The media will be there, it'll be covered on the BBC, and you don't realise actually, oh, it's Shell sponsored that, and you don't know about it. So that's a really interesting way how, through political lobbying companies, they will fund think tanks. What other ways do they do it? What I think is quite extraordinary is the, for example, the nuclear industry has been very good at hiring senior civil servants, senior ex-ministers, and they go into the nuclear lobbying industry. We also hired the Prime Minister's brother to do some lobbying for them. The chief lobbyist for EDF Energy is the Prime Minister's brother, not the current Prime Minister, sorry, Gordon Brown's. You know, can you imagine in a tin pot dictatorship, the brothers, the Prime Minister's brothers lobbying for nuclear power, and oh, government policy changes from being anti-nuclear power to pro-nuclear power. That's our country. And that's what political lobbying is doing to us. We've become a prostitute state. I'll just go on then to the other thing that they talk about the dark arts. They do what they're very good in these political lobbying companies. They do is they called astroturfing. Anybody heard of that term?
Yeah.
No present. Astroturfing is an extraordinary concept. Very clever. What they do is, because Shell doesn't want to be seen to be, if Shell wants to combat climate change legislation in the Senate or in the Westminster, what they will do is they will hire a political lobbying company. The political lobbying company will then set up a grassroots people's initiative for climate change, but attacking all the initiatives on climate change. And that's happening here now too. It started in America, and the political lobbying company now setting up organisations like the Renewable Energy Initiative. And the Renewable Energy Initiative, you find all they're doing is attacking renewable energy initiatives. Really, really dishonest, disgraceful behaviour. What other ways do they do it? Policy. Before I leave political parties, I want to go into the media and the tax haven stuff. What I found in the Liberal Democrats and the Labour Party is the really clever way they hijack the parties is that they don't really stand for election. They don't do much policy work in the parties. where they usually go is to grab the leadership. Because they know if they control the leadership, most people will always follow the leader's lines. They did studies on it. In the Liberal Democrats, 70% of the party would do what the leader tells them. I was horrified at that as a Liberal. I thought you should question everything the leadership tells you and then say yes or no as an independent human being. In the Labour Party, it's the low 80s. In the Tory Party, it's the high 80s. So when we went into debates at conference, I had 70% of the party lined up behind the leadership, so I had to persuade 30% of the party who were open to persuasion that I was right, plus another 21% who would automatically back the leadership, abandon that and back us. So the democratic processes in all three parties are very, very, very weak. So therefore, if you're intelligent and you want to control the agenda, is you make sure you've got the leader's office. And in my time, Liberal Democrats, Paddy Ashdown's head of office was Lord Newby. He owned the political lobbying company. Nick Clegg has just appointed Neil Sherlock, who has been the parliamentary lobbyist for KPMG for the last 10-15 years. All around Paddy was a political lobbyist, and all around Clegg. Clegg was a political lobbyist himself. Cameron was. It's right through the system. We really have a problem about the prostitute state. And Occupy is so right when they put on the finger about it. Our democratic system has been hijacked. Because we are living within a tent, and the tent is controlled through the political lobbyists by the 1%. And it's really interesting that the symbol that the establishment hates about the Occupy movement is the tent. Because we're all inside the tent and they're pissing on it. Sound effects.